I'm Jake.
I'm Tom.
And we are VIMTV Velocities in Music, the best kept secret in music reviews. Back in VIMTV's infancy, we discovered a band called Phantogram, and their first debut album, Eyelid Movies, we reviewed it, we loved it, it was a lot of fun for us. We've been anxiously awaiting their follow-up sophomore record for a number of years now. It's been 4 years. And they finally came out with Voices back in February. We've been listening to it and really trying to take it all in. And we're here to review Voices for you today, Phantogram's second record. Now, Phantogram is a New York-based electronic music duo, which is a terrible way to describe what their sound is, because their sound is actually quite unique. Right? What's so intriguing about Phantogram is the direction that they're taking their music, because there's truly not a lot out there that's like this. They really make their style their own. I mean, the obvious thing that you're going to hear right away is, oh, I can hear all this trip-hop influence. Yeah, you can. There's a lot of trip-hop influences there, but when you compare like trip-hop influences with Radiohead, and Radiohead-esque sounds, it still doesn't do Phantogram's sound justice, because they're definitely taking music to a place that I don't feel many artists are even looking at right now.
And Voices takes it in even a more divergent direction than we saw in Eyelid Movies.
Right.
This album is much more fiery.
Yes.
It's much more energetic.
Yeah, it's louder.
Yeah, Eyelid Movies had a lot more kind of somber moods, and that's what was easy to get into. It still had more of kind of like a DJ-esque feel to it. And this, you still hear that too, but it's something that you can move to even more. And especially, I mean, not only in the instrumentals are they just a little more in your face, but the vocal performance. Sarah Bartho, great vocalist, and she really just kills it on this album.
Yeah, and really what you hear with both Phantogram records, but more so on this record, is they have an affinity for just gigantic beats that I think provide a good foundation. But it's the electronic melodies though that sell this for me, because they're not presenting melodies like you typically hear. They're very layered and dense, and they really focus on oscillating between electronic melodies and guitar melodies. I mean, there's a lot of really good electric guitar riffs on this record. There's a lot of really good moving synth melodies, and then both members. There's a male vocalist and a female vocalist, and, you know, obviously they're doing other things, but they're very good, and they both add a lot to the music. Now, Sarah, the female vocalist, obviously, her voice is just fantastic for what she's doing, and the way that she emotes and projects her voice is really, I don't know how to say, it hooks me in, it just brings me in. The way that Voices starts, you have 3 tracks that just, right out of the gate, kick your ass. The band is making a statement with these tracks. They're saying, pay attention, we've perfected our craft. Nothing But Trouble, Blackout Days, which I think is just a fantastic track. I really can't get over that track. And then Fall in Love. All 3 are driven by Sarah. She's singing and really just belting it out. Lots of really strong choruses, you know, in a non-traditional fashion. It's not like you're shifting into this chorus and you feel like you're in this pop chorus or anything. It just kind of evolves. The songs have this very organic, experimental nature to them, yet they're kind of in a structured format. I mean, you know what's next, but it never sounds stale or unoriginal.
Now, you mentioned we both loved Eyelid Movies, and it was our combined favorite album of 2010, in fact. So that, you know, there's definitely some expectation when it comes to that, because you have a debut album that we really loved. What are they going to do for their sophomore record to impress us? And it's almost a little unfair, because at first I think both of us were a little lukewarm on this album. We're like, yeah, you know, it's good, but it didn't hit me right away. Exactly. And the thing is, I had to remind myself, well, I didn't love Eyelid Movies right away either. It was one of those grower albums, and I can't get away from just lambasting Pitchfork right now, because Pitchfork frustrates me sometimes. I think it frustrates all of us sometimes, but I happened to read their review of this album, which was probably a mistake.
No, that's a mistake.
and they made a specific comparison to Haim and Churches and Lord, which are actually all albums we liked all right. Yeah. But the point they were making is that Voices doesn't have that pop appeal, that grandeur that those other ones do. And I'm like, that's not a criticism, because that's clearly not what they're going for. Yeah. This album is not structured, it's not designed to have an instant pop appeal. No. It's a dark album, and you have to dig into it. There's a lot to offer, there's many layers to it, and I think that if you take the time to really dig into all that, you'll find it to be a very rewarding listen. But I think to write it off as something that isn't as accessible as its sound immediately makes you think it would be is to make a big mistake.
There aren't any rules to music. This
No.
is what frustrates me. Music critics should never say there are, like, electronic pop or electronic rock should never have certain rules that you have to follow in order to be considered good in that genre. It's not a sports team. It's not something that you can measure. It's an artistic statement. It's about what the music does. It's about how much thought they put into it. It's about the planning that goes into the record, and it's about the end product of how it makes you feel. Now, Voices is much deeper than any of those artists mentioned in that Pitchfork article. The thing about Phantogram's music is that it is electronic music that you have to dig at to understand. That's what makes it so intriguing. Yes, you listen to it and go, wow, this is really moody, or wow, this song has a ton of energy. Yeah, that's surface level stuff. Dig in and figure out how they're mixing all these different, electronic arrangements and how they're blending in electric guitar to add that, kick right when the song needs it. These guys are adding doing a lot of stuff in their songwriting that provides a very emotional impact. There's a lot of energy here. There's a lot of really cool stuff going on, and it takes digging at it to understand. The other thing about Voices, where I thought what they improved on from Eyelid Movies is Eyelid Movies had some fantastic tracks on it. Like 4 or 5 tracks on that record were just mind-blowingly good. Yeah. But the album kind of sagged in the middle. I think if I remember 4 years ago, I think we said that in the review. Now, Voices is much more of a straight-through listen. This album is louder. They knew that there was going to be some more anthemic tracks on this album, the first 3 tracks, so they did a better job of sculpting this record. Yeah. They really paid attention to the album listening experience. You have 3 tracks that that really set the tone of what their new sound is or where they're taking their sound. And then they know that they've just blasted you with all this energy and the same, style of song, albeit they're all 3 good. They know that they need to change it up. So track 4, Never Going Home, the male vocalist takes the lead on that one, and it's a much more somber track. And it's the perfect contrast from the first 3 tracks, because it makes you realize right away this is a dynamic band. They can do different things. They don't have to always stick to the same formula. And they do that a number of times throughout this record. There's a number of great tracks in the middle of the record, like The Day You Died, Howling at the Moon. Tom and I both really like that track. And then the album even ends strong after it goes through another, change up. Celebrating Nothing. We both love that track. And then I think the closing track, My Only Friend, is a very good song. A great way to close. I mean, this album really has it has it all. I mean, it's just a really solid record, and I'm continually more and more impressed by Phantogram as they make this unique take on electronic music that really no one else out there is doing right now.
You can tell just the professionalism and the craft has improved greatly since their debut. And while their debut still has a lot of sentimental value to me, I think they're going in the right direction. And they've had a lot of success since their debut. They've worked with artists like the Flaming Lips and Big Boy, and I'm sure
they've been in a couple commercials.
Yeah, I'm sure that probably all came into play on the making of this record because they just have more experience. So I'm excited to see that build even more from here and see what they'll do next.
And we got to see them when they were very unknown. Open for the Antlers.
And they were nice enough to let us talk with them afterward. That was really cool.
They're cool people, but they're definitely very into their craft, which is what we're really looking for in music. We really liked Voices. What are you going to give it, Tom?
I'm going to give it an 86.
Oh, well, I'm going to make your score not matter.
All right.
87.
87.
87 from Velocities in Music. That means it's a damn good record. You guys need to go out and check out Voices if you haven't already. Really, both Eyelid Movies and Voices, both of Phantogram's 2 records that are out right now, are both stupendous. And if you haven't listened to Phantogram, shame on you. Go out and listen to this band. Tell us your thoughts about Voices at www.velocitiesinmusic.com or youtube.com/velocitiesinmusic. As always, follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, and let us know what records you'd like to see us review on this channel. I'm Jake.
I'm Tom.
And we are VIM TV, moving music critique forward.